Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another post. This one is on feminism. It's called Real versus Fake Feminists. In an earlier post, I established that a good way to undermine a cause is to associate the thought leader with an extremist, or to create a fake thought leader who acts like they support a cause while deliberately making it look bad. In that post, I identified someone who calls herself Skepchick as such a deceptive thought leader who undermines the causes she claims to support. She claims to be a feminist while undermining feminism. And she's been doing this on the internet for the past 10 years. In this post, I'd like to provide some helpful tips for identifying real feminists and fake feminists. So she's not the only person doing this, and so I'm going to provide some examples. In Exhibit A, in the blog post linked below, you find a video of Skepchick. In a video entitled, Big Bang Theory Actress Isn't a Feminist. Now, on its surface, you would think this is a feminist post. She's going to chastise an actress for refusing to identify as a feminist. But this is a subversive post because she's doing this while wearing a t-shirt that says flip out. Now, if you don't know anything about the term flip out, it is frequently used as a weapon against women in the workplace, where a guy will say, oh, she flipped out, when really she just got mad, which women aren't allowed to do. So the title of the post appears to be a feminist title. However, the content of the post undermines feminism. And it causes me to ask the question of if teenage girls or actresses don't want to identify as feminists today, maybe those who have been carrying the torch of feminism for the past 10 years, as Skepchick has done on the internet, maybe they bear some responsibility. So, from my experience, not living on the internet, I kind of had a pre-internet life because I'm not a millennial. A real feminist has tried to make women look good by working hard and showing that she can do the jobs that men do. She has also tried to show that needing time off for mothering doesn't have to damage her expertise. After looking at fake feminists on the internet, I've learned that they will do things like wear a t-shirt that says flip out while joking about a common attack against women. They will jump on bandwagons that are dragging real feminists down over trivial details. They will put on a loud counterculture costume while blogging and traveling from conference to conference, lecturing others on how stupid or sexist they are. They will mix obvious feminist talking points into their shtick, but overall, the outspoken nature of the performance is designed to both attract and repel. A good word to describe this subversive aesthetic is numinous. A fake feminist will have a sophisticated understanding of psyops and will employ those techniques in ways that are hard to detect. For example, she will distribute undermining talking points about real feminists while claiming to be a feminist, of course. She will distribute slander about a man accused of sleazy behavior, thereby engendering the mistrust of men who don't like seeing people accused on flimsy or false grounds. She will bait men who are predisposed to anti-feminism, thereby attracting negative attention. She will draw attention to an imaginary extremist group of feminists that don't exist. These people called TERFs, I've talked about them before, and I will direct you to my previous post on that. She will give a dogmatic, polemical lecture on a subtle academic topic, making her look like a know-it-all at a conference where she is representing herself as, I am a feminist. She will go to an atheism conference and draw negative attention to herself by trying to turn it into a conference about sexism. She will style herself in a provocative and non-professional manner, showing up at an event to which she was invited wearing inappropriate clothing and acting unprepared for her lecture. She will jokingly run for president in order to make fun of a woman who is running for president. I've seen Skepchick do all of these things, and in the blog post below, I've provided links to all of those things. I think her goal is to become the sort of feminist representative who distracts from the hard day-to-day work of real feminists in the trenches. In short, she seems to be deliberately giving feminism a bad name, and I think she's doing this on purpose. She's not stupid. There's method to this madness. This triggers some questions. Who is paying for her to travel around to all of these conferences? That's expensive. Who is giving her a living wage while she maintains a blog and a vlogging platform? I'm doing this just since summer, and it's a full-time job. My guess is that Skepchick is what happens when someone educated by the public sector decides to freelance as a hired gun for someone with a cultural agenda. In this case, anti-feminism, anti-scientism, pro-pharma, and she's basically undermined all of these causes while claiming to support them. And I have a hard time understanding exactly why anyone would do this unless someone was paying them to do it. She has designed herself to appeal to men who enjoy being irritated and entertained by obnoxious fake feminists. And to do that, she has given herself colorful hair, and she talks about atheism and science, the topics that her target demographic likes to hear about. It seems that her goal is to undermine the heroes of that demographic while at the same time cementing their distrust of women. For example, she made a post on common myths about Carl Sagan, which was designed to appeal to his fans, but I think she subtly undermined his legend by using a tricky technique. People remember the myths because they are interesting, and they forget the debunking because it is more mundane and boring. By debunking the myths, she actually reinforced the myths, such that people get the impression that they are watching a tribute to Carl Sagan, when in reality they are being fed ideas that reduce his stature and power in their minds. I think she's been trained to do this sort of subversion. Skepchick's video left the impression that Carl Sagan was a marijuana addict who lived in a weird cult-like Illuminati temple at Cornell after he was rejected by Harvard for oversimplifying physics, and who didn't invent the phrase for which he was famous. This undermined his image as an ingenious, kindly, calm yet smart scientist who patiently explained complex topics in ways that everyone could understand. In yet another post, she managed to convince one young woman who later posted on YouTube. She convinced her that Carl Sagan was a misogynist. So this young woman, she's just, she's trying to figure out the world. She looks like she's from the Midwest or something, and she makes a YouTube video entitled Dawkins versus Watson, the day my head exploded. And she's legitimately confused about the messages she's getting because they're designed to undermine the sorts of people she's been told to respect. So similarly, there was another skeptic post that undermined Neil deGrasse Tyson in a tricky way for what seemed like no reason whatsoever. And this was long before he was tarred and feathered for sexual misconduct. Why would she want to undermine the icons of the pseudo-religion known as scientism? Who is threatened by them? Why is there a coordinated effort to do this, like to soften the ground for, taking somebody down? What she's done is similar to how children's show icons in Britain were undermined by accusations of pedophilia. But Skepchick did this in a way that operated on an unconscious level so that what her target, or her demographics, inner child noticed was, that red-haired feminist just told me that there isn't any Santa Claus. Wah. And I don't know why this is being done. What I do know is that when your childhood heroes are all taken away, all that is left is the state. And maybe this is just in trying to centralize people's focus on something else. I don't know. I've wondered if when a person in the public sphere becomes popular enough that somebody comes along to put a leash on them, and that cultural attack dogs like Skepchick keep them in line. Either that, or there seems to be an organized effort to undermine thought leaders who don't fit a certain mold. And where this effort is coming from, I don't know. Subversion is a tricky business, yet I don't think that Skepchick is just another useful idiot for an apparatchik. She seems too professional and deliberate for that to be the case. I mean, were incidents in our country's history that are well documented in which the government itself did things like this. But I think there's some sort of private entity that's doing this. Something associated with Big Pharma. I have no idea, but if I were her and I wanted to neutralize someone who was criticizing her, say a wannabe thought leader apostate like me, I'd frame me as an ultra irrational, disloyal, heretical apparatchik attacking her, an ultra rational, super loyal skepchick. Little would she know that, despite my liberal educational background, I came from the buckle of the Bible Belt just like her. Calling me a commie or a hippie wouldn't stick. I'm an explorer. I've seen both sides and returned to tell the tale. And the fact, And if I wanted to try to start a fight with her to siphon off some of her viewers, I'd try to make her angry, but it probably wouldn't work. I still don't understand who's paying her. What I can see is that she is shilling for processed food. She made a video about why it's stupid to be afraid of processed food. And she argued that because hummus is a processed food and it's good for you, you shouldn't be afraid of processed food. I mean, we all know the difference between hummus and Cheetos and Mountain Dew. So why, did her handlers tell her that processed food is in their interest? Did they want her to encourage everyone to continue poisoning themselves with junk food and being as trusting and as gullible as possible? Are they afraid of skepticism itself, that confidence in existing institutions is so critical that they have to try to trick people with the methods she's using, which seem, frankly, not terribly clever. What's really weird is that Skepchick is not the only fake feminist shill I have found on the internet. Consider the podcast The Red Scare with Anna Kachian, a 30-something Armenian-American woman who speaks about cultural issues with a ton of, oh my God, local fry. She sounds like a Kardashian, and I'm doing a terrible impression. But there's a very sleepy tone to her voice, and it's okay to stop a lot and then have a lot of filling space in what she says. That's a style that seems to connect these days, I guess. What I also found interesting is that there's more than one Anna Kachian who is making a name for herself on the internet. Anna Kachian of Red Scare is not the same person as Anna Kachian of TMZ, a TV station. And what I found interesting is that Anna Kachian of TMZ comes across to me as a real feminist. She's pretty, but she's also thoughtful, and she's trying to directly communicate to men and women, to set boundaries of what's healthy and what's safe in our relationships. Yet, we have, at the same time, another woman with the same name, Anna Kachian of Red Scare, who I think she is an alt-right funded fake feminist who is trying to act cool by talking about how she bought drugs from the internet. She did this sort of town hall sort of presentation with her co-host, and it was really weird to watch because her audience was very young, and it appeared to me that she was trying to look like someone in her 20s, talking about buying drugs from the internet. But the reality that I found out later is that she's in her 30s. A woman in her 20s, or a woman in her 30s pretending to be a woman in her early 20s. It's very weird. And it seems that she's trying to convert far left millennial women to the opposite end of the political spectrum, on the alt-right. If you think of politics, it is a spectrum, but it kind of loops around in a circle. And she's trying to exploit that, it seems. Her brand is to be cool and counter to the counterculture of liberalism. She seems to derive a sense of superiority from her cynical Russian soul that allows her to, as she said, to see the chessboard. And to me, she came across as a reactionary's reactionary. But I think she's doing this for profit, not out of the goodness of her heart or out of desperation for attention, as is often the case for a more authentic, less effective non-shill. like me, I guess. Based on some of the things she has said, I have even wondered if she is paid by some of the same people who fund Skeptic. I think this because she has a definite anti-feminist, anti-neoliberal stance. And like Skeptic, she has also complained about TERFs, an imaginary group of people who are trans-excluding radical feminists. It's a mythical extremist feminist group that hates trans people and wants to tell everyone all about it. To me, it just seems like something that a stupid PR firm made up in order to achieve some sort of cultural end involving undermining feminism in the style in which feminism was successfully undermined by Germaine Greer, by using Germaine Greer as a front person. I think that they're just trying to convince people that this extremist group exists and use it to make feminists as a whole look intolerant and bad. By associating a group with an extremist group, you can make the whole group look bad, and that's what they seem to be exploiting. It's an old play, but I think they're doing a really bad job of executing it because it just seems so transparent. I had a hard time listening to Anna's podcasts because she faded in and out of focus with lots of vocal fry, like a somewhat intellectual yet less articulate Kardashian. And that must give her some credibility with the young female demographic with which she attempts to infect her alt-right ideology. She doesn't seem completely inauthentic, though. In fact, in many ways, she seems like a typical millennial, drowning in the poisons of our time, and struggling to stay at the surface, while also struggling to numb the pain of the struggle. The fact that millennials are aware of their condition is even more tragic. And by their condition, what I mean is that they know that baby boomers have all of the money, while the millennials are deep in debt to pay for an education that is, in many cases, a complete scam and waste of time. And we know that we have a situation where young women today are not infrequently sleeping with very old online sugar daddies in order to get money for college. I mean, when this happens, something has gone quite wrong. Meanwhile, the young men that they should be with are consuming violent internet porn. I mean, what I know from my family is that years ago, when my younger sister was dating and searching for a husband, she actually had to tell some of the young men that she was with that she didn't like hitting, choking, or violence. And I think these are symptoms of a larger problem that needs to be dealt with through open discussion. And I respect the efforts of people like Anna to keep the discussion going. However, I think I like the TMZ Anna Kardashian more than I like Anna of the Red Scare. Because I think that one is a more genuine feminist and the other one is sort of a fake feminist. Primarily, I object to the fact that influencers like Anna are so poor and cynical that they can be easily purchased by a rich person's PR firm. Money talks. I just listened to one of Anna's Red Scare podcasts, and I saw that when someone pays her to do a smear job, she is mean, really mean. And I conclude that the PR firm got their money's worth. So I'm going to paraphrase what I saw in one of her posts on Carolyn Calloway. I think that a PR firm paid by Carolyn Calloway paid Anna to do some outreach to help recover Carolyn Calloway's image after she'd been quite brutally taken down in an article in the New York Post. So what Anna said in her podcast to the demographic that Carolyn Calloway wanted to reach was that Carolyn Calloway is a genius who is all over the internet. Carolyn's ghostwriter friend who helped photograph her for her Instagram account and make her sound clever was a lame hanger-on who allowed herself to be abused like a weak, dumb person with borderline personality disorder. Caroline is a bit of a narcissist, but that is respectable. At least she's doing something with her life, unlike her lame friend who wrote a whiny expose in the New York Post about her after she didn't pay her for all of the ghostwriting work she'd done for her. Anna ran 2 podcasts, based on rebuilding rich girl Instagrammer Carolyn Calloway's image and undoing the damage done by Carolyn's ghostwriter in a now infamous New York Post article. And I think she was probably paid to do it by Carolyn Calloway's PR firm. So PR is a dark art. What I learned from the New York Post article is that Carolyn Calloway is a rich girl hooked on big pharma's meds and social media. She got her poor friend to ghostwrite for her and make her sound cleverer than she really is. The poor friend did the work for no pay, but with the promise that she would get to split the profits should a future publishing deal materialize. Carolyn treated her poor friend like trash, and when the poor friend used a New York Post article to tell the world about her treatment at the hands of rich people, one of whom literally choked her and hurt her during one of her first sexual experiences, I think that this rich girl had hired a dark PR firm that used Mean Girl Anna to use her podcast to trash Caroline's poor ex-unpaid employee friend. I mean, such overt meanness would not draw more followers to Anna because meanness in women is usually associated with insecurity, not power, and power is what draws people to you. So that is why I think that by being overtly mean, Anna was spending some of her capital, her political capital or social cred, in exchange for profit. Anna views herself, from another interview that's also in the blog post, I learned that Anna views herself as special because of her cynicism. And I mean, I wasn't born yesterday. I know that there are people who can't see more than the surface of things and they can't look at the dark places within the human soul because it's too scary for them. And that prevents them from understanding certain things. I know people like that, and it's often what makes them good. And I often want to be one of those people who can't see these dark things, because I want to fit in. And I feel that this is what it takes to be good, not seeing things sometimes. And my cynicism occasionally makes me feel bad, even though I know I'm not. And I think it's this reluctant cynicism that made me feel uncomfortable watching Anna preach the virtues of submissive womanhood and the sins of neoliberalism on a show that was funded indirectly by Peter Thiel, a man who has had some things to say about feminism and neoliberalism. It was a show called The Portal with a man named Eric Weinstein, a guy I can't really figure out. He was previously a government employee who is now Thiel's business manager, and I wonder if he's Thiel's government-appointed minder. But I think I was bothered by watching Anna on Eric's show because they embodied or represented an extreme power imbalance. While all of his other interviews with men were conducted during the day, hers was done at night, and she was slumped, wearing cheap shoes, hiding behind her shaggy haircut, drinking wine to control her nerves, admittedly dependent on men for money, and at times it felt like she was being interviewed about her adherence to womanly ideals and her respect for motherhood. I somehow, watching this, could not just take sex and gender out of the equation. And that's an alt-right talking point in opposition to a fake feminist straw man who insists that gender is a construct and that there is no difference between men and women. Meanwhile, real feminists know that you can't take sex and gender out of the equation, of course. They just also insist that it is possible to make sure that sex and gender are not creating an unbalanced power dynamic. So, and the unbalanced power dynamic was what I was sensing in this interview of Anna. It doesn't bother me that men think about sex all the time. I mean, women think about it too, but what bothers me about feminism today and fake feminism are the transactional ways in which sex is thought of today. And this transactional situation results from power imbalances in which rich men can purchase poor women and poor men take out their anger through watching violent porn. And I see that fake feminists are acting as apologists for this system. They may say that this situation is natural or make fun of anyone who is making an effort to expose it, let people see it, and fix it. So for those who say that the situation as it is now is a natural situation, I would say that it's natural in a time of out-of-control wealth inequality, but the dynamics between men and women would be very different in a different economy, I think. There are always going to be this sort of push and pull of power between the genders, but money distorts things dramatically. In conclusion, I think that some organization, I don't know which one it is, wants to use paid PR shills and fake feminists like Skepchick and Anna Kashian, I should have written her name down, to keep women quiet and under control, because women are the group that typically gives the green light for political change, and they tend to do that when they no longer feel safe. And it tends to be the result of any kind of revolutionary change is highly disruptive, and in the case of the French Revolution, women got the ball rolling, but after the revolution was over, they lost a lot of ground. But women start revolutions when they no longer feel safe. And a sense of safety today is difficult for some women to achieve when they meet partners who think it's sexy to, choke them in the bedroom. And I think that right now, many millennial women feel unsafe based on listening to just the music of the time, listening to Billie Eilish, You Should See Me in a Crown. But I think these women are too afraid to fight back. Meanwhile, you have fake feminists like Anna, who tell them to accept that this is the way things should be between men and women, while fake feminists like Skepchik offer a parody of feminism for men to make fun of. So in a more metaphorical sense, the cat is up a tree right now, but she seems relatively content there. I still have hope that there is time for this story to have a happy ending. But I don't think that the way that people like Anna and Skepchik are going about things is particularly good or useful. They may have meta goals that they're hiding, but something about this whole system is just people are losing trust in the system, but the way to fix that trust is not to create more fake paid characters. So that's my take on the state of feminism today. I hope you found something interesting about this, or some food for thought in an age where all we get is nutritional advice. And I hope you tune in to my next video and take a look at my novels. I did try to explore some issues, gender issues within those novels. I mean, there's a love story in there, so how can there not be? Until next time.